Leelavaloka pratilabdhamana Vrajastriyo dhrigbiranupravritta Dhiyo vatastuti kila kriyashesha Yasyanuraga plutaha sarasa Leelavaloka pratilabdhamana Vrajastriyo dhrigbiranupravritta Dhiyo vatastu kila kritya shesha
Yasyanuraga plutaha sarasa Leelavaloka pratilabdhamana Vrajastriyo dhrigbiranupravritta Dhiyo vatastu kila kritya shesha Yasyanuraga plutaha sarasa Leelavaloka pratilabdhamana Vrajastriyo dhrigbiranupravritta Dhiyo vatastu kila kritya shesha.
Ladies,
Yasyanuraga
plutaha sarasa Leelavaloka pratilabdhamana
Vrajastriyo dhrigbiranupravritta Dhiyo vatastu kila kritya shesha Yasya whose Anuraga attachment Pluta enhanced by Hasa laughter Rasa humors Leela pastimes Avaloka glancing Pratilabdha obtained thereof Mana anguish Vrajastriya damsels of Raja Drigbhi with the eyes Anupravritta following Dhiya by intelligence Avadhastu set silently Kila indeed Kritya Shesha without finishing household duties. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. The damsels of Raj, after pastimes of laughter, humor, and exchanges of glances, were anguished when Krishna left them. They used to follow him with their eyes, and thus they sat down with stunned intelligence and could not finish their household duties. Purport. In his boyhood at Vrindavan, Lord Krishna was notorious as a teasing friend in transcendental love to all the girls his age. His love for them was so intense that there is no comparison to that ecstasy. And the damsels of Raja were so much attached to him that their affection excelled that of the great demigods like Brahma and Shiva. Lord Krishna finally admitted his defeat before the transcendental affection of the gopis and declared that he was unable to repay them for their unalloyed affection. Although the gopis were seemingly anguished by the Lord's teasing behavior when Krishna would leave them, they could not tolerate the separation and used to follow him with their eyes and minds. They were so stunned by the situation that they could not finish their household duties. No one could excel him even in the dealings of love exchanges between boys and girls. It is said that in the revealed scriptures that Lord Krishna personally never goes beyond the boundary of Vrindavan. He remains there eternally because of the transcendental love of the inhabitants. Thus, even though he is not visible at present, he is not all away from Vrindavana for a moment. Again the verse. Yasyanuraga plutahasa rasa lilavaloka pratilabdhamana brajastriyo dhrigbirnu pravritta dhiyo vatastu kilakritya shesha. The damsels of Vraj, after pastimes of laughter, humor, and exchanges of glances, were anguished when Krishna left them. They used to follow him with their eyes, and thus they sat down with stunned intelligence and could not finish their household duties. Om Ajnanatimirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Parakamalam Shri Guru Vaishnavam Shri Rupam Sagarjatam Sahagana Raghunatam Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padam Sahitam Shri Vishakhamritamshcha He Krishna Karuna Sindho Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanusute Devi Pranamami Devi Panchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhuveva Cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasari Guru Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Mukam Karoti Vachalam Pangam Langahati Grit Kripa Tavaham Vande Shri Virundinatarinam. So Uddhava continues speaking, being asked by Vidura, and as you remember from the beginning of the chapter, what happened when Vidura asked Uddhava to tell him about Krishna.
He was stunned.
He was stunned. He didn't say anything. He just remembered Krishna and his pastimes and his love for him, so he was overwhelmed by ecstasy. And then he starts talking about Krishna and giving examples of different pastimes. And yesterday we heard about Krishna being in the where? What was yesterday's verse? What was the pastime? Rajasuya, sacrifice. And what was specifically there in the verse? What was the emphasis? What did Uddhava say? That Krishna is so beautiful that everyone thought, oh, this is the best of the creations of the Creator. He was so beautiful. So Krishna is so attractive that everyone appreciates and is attracted by his beauty and all his qualities, but especially his beauty. And so it was mentioned by Uddhava that all the kings in the Rajasuya were very much impressed by Krishna's beauty. Even demons, when they see him, first they were also stunned by how beautiful. But then they remember, okay, I have a mission to kill him. But they are also impressed. So not only ladies, but also men, they were attracted seemingly. If in the 10th canto, the kings who were saved by Krishna, who were imprisoned, and when Krishna released them and then they saw him, they were also so attracted. You remember what they wanted so much to... actually, it said they wanted to taste him and lick him. That's what they said. You can imagine these strong men. But Krishna is just so attractive. And so that's the meaning of the word Krishna, all attractive. And once Prabhupada was making this point that Krishna attracts everyone. And this is from one of the small books, and I'll ask you which is that book. And a guest asked, is he attractive to the rascals also? What did Prabhupada answer? He's not. Is he attractive to the rascals? What he answered?
Yes.
He said he is the greatest rascal. And this is which book? Do you remember? Then yes, this is the beginning of the perfect question of perfect answers. This is a newcomer, a guest. And Prabhupada suddenly starts speaking about Shrimati Radharani. He says that Krishna is such a rascal that he was always teasing the girls in Vrindavan. This is what he also explains here in the purport, that he was notorious as a teasing friend. So Prabhupada said he was the greatest rascal because he was teasing the young girls, and he gave example that he was just suddenly attacking Radharani, and then she was falling, and she was saying, "Why you are torturing me?" And then he used the opportunity to kiss her. So Prabhupada was giving this an example of Krishna being a rascal, but his rascaldom is absolute and is therefore very attractive and very sweet. His stealing is sweet, everything is sweet, like in this wonderful song, Madhura Ashtakam. Everything about his beauty, his face, his character, his activities, his stealing is mentioned. His stealing is very sweet, and his teasing is also very sweet. So that's what Uddhava here says, that in this usual exchanges between young boys and girls, there is always teasing and jokes and laughter and exchange of glances. So the gopis were anguished when Krishna disappeared, left them during the day, when anytime when he was not in front of them. So they used to complain that the Creator is foolish by making the eyes with eyelids, which cause us to not see Krishna even for a moment. And they were so much absorbed in thoughts of Krishna, as Srila Prabhupada explains here, they just sat down, stunned. Also, just they couldn't finish their household duties. And Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur explains they couldn't do their usual chores of churning yogurt and serving prasad and things like that. So, as Prabhupada says in Krishna book, in one of the chapters, describing the Rasalila pastimes, that the only purpose of the gopis is to think always of Krishna. So therefore they are considered the excellent example of the highest love. And here, this is explained, Srila Prabhupada says, their affection excelled even the affection and love of great demigods. And their love is so deep that Krishna is so much attracted, it says Srila Prabhupada, so intense that there is no comparison to this ecstasy. And Krishna was completely conquered by this. In one purport, Prabhupada explains that in Vrindavana, there is Krishna is conquered and devotees are conquered. So everyone is conquering. So Krishna is conquered by their love. Therefore, here he says that he never leaves Vrindavan. He stays only because of his devotees, and the devotees are conquered by Krishna also, and his love, and his attractive features and everything. So when Krishna is with the devotees and they experience their pastimes, they are completely absorbed in bliss. And when he's not there, they are seemingly very anguished, they are in pain, right? And that's for us in the material world difficult to understand. How is that pain also called the highest bliss? Because here in the world of duality we experience either something pleasant or it is unpleasant. So pain is usually considered as something unpleasant. Of course, even in material mundane love poetry, they glorify this pain which is caused by love, because that pain causes the lover to remember the beloved, and then there is this high feeling of separation, even in mundane love that is expressed. And therefore Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was singing one verse. From where? And where he was singing that, do you remember? In the Ratha Yatra. And this verse was from some Shastra? Yeah? What? No. Yeah, it's from Kavya Shastra, some mundane poetry. And this is expressed, this specific feeling of separation, of a lover who sees the beloved, but it's not the same, because the environment is not the same. And devotees were confused a little bit. Why is the Lord singing this verse? And then one day, what Rupa Goswami did? He composed another verse, and he put it in his hut. So Lord Chaitanya was going every day to see Haridas Thakur, right? And Rupa Goswami when he was there, after seeing Lord Jagannath. But Rupa Goswami went there to take bath in the ocean, and then Lord Chaitanya was waiting. So he saw there is a leaf, so he read this verse, and then when Rupa Goswami came, and then the Lord said, "How is this possible? How can you know my heart?" And then he turned to Swarup Damodar and said, "How he knows my heart?" And then Rupa Goswami was feeling, of course, ashamed a little bit. But Swarup Damodar Goswami explained, it's all by your mercy, by you, Lord. You inspired me. You inspired him. You gave him the understanding.
According to Wikipedia, a song is a musical composition performed by the human voice.
This is listening all the time. So when I say song, it never happened. But okay. So then, yeah, they appreciated this verse so much, and Lord Chaitanya embraced Rupa Goswami and encouraged him, to write. And then he wanted to hear more, and Rupa Goswami actually started writing at that time special drama describing Krishna's pastimes. And he divided it into two, Vidagdha Madhava and Lalita Madhava. So again, there was one verse he wrote, and was so much appreciated by the devotees. Do you know which verse? Everybody was saying, we never heard such a verse before, in glorification of the holy name. So that verse is from Vidagdha Madhava and is spoken by Purnamasi. And it says, these two syllables, Krishna, are so attractive. They're so palatable for tasty. Therefore, I desire to have millions of ears and millions of tongues to hear. So devotee said, this is amazing. This is just the Sanskrit of this verse. It's so beautifully composed in a famous meter. They were very much appreciating. So then devotees there said, okay, can you say more? Can you give more examples of this book? And specifically they asked him, can you give the opening verse, which usually the author always starts with Mangalacharana. You pray for blessings. I'm undertaking something, but I need the blessings. So, and then within the Mangalacharana, there is an address to the Ishtadeva, the Lord of the heart. So they say, Swarup Damodar said, can you recite the verse of glorification of your Ishtadev? And Rupa Goswami just lowered his head, because Lord Chaitanya was there. And then he didn't want to say it. And they said, please say it. And he didn't want to say it. And finally he said, do you know what that verse is? Anarpita Chirinchirat Karunavatar. So that's the verse which Krishnadas Kaviraj quotes 2 or 3 times in Chaitanya Charitamrita, in the beginning and later, describing the wonderful mercy of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, that he descended in this world to give something which was not given before, or for a very long time. Chiram. So what is that thing? Udvala Rasa. So that's very special prema, very special love for Krishna. Udvala, that's very splendid. And that refers usually to Madhurya Rasa. But that is here exemplifying this verse, and Uddhava remembers that because he saw the gopis when Krishna sent him on a mission to give him a letter from him to relieve their pain. And Uddhava thought, okay, I'll help them. But then when he saw their ecstatic love, then he understood, oh, I thought I'm coming here to teach them, from Krishna. And Krishna had all his arguments like usual, I'm present everywhere, don't be worried, don't suffer so much, I'm within your heart. And when you hear about me and think about me, it's the same, like that. So, but the gopis, they were, especially Srimati Radharani, that's also in the Srimad Bhagavatam, in Brahmara Gita, and then she starts speaking in her highest ecstasy, in separation, speaking to the bee. Brahmara Gita, the song of the bee. So Uddhava was so impressed that he felt my love is just so insignificant. And as we heard here, it was described from his childhood. He only thought of Krishna. His play was about Krishna, everything. And it was quite opposite of Shishupal, who's described in the beginning of 7th canto. Since childhood, he was hating Krishna. He was always envious. He couldn't stop thinking of Krishna. And he got also the benefit. But Uddhava, yes, he was such a great devotee, but he felt so humble. And then he desired what? To be born in Vrindavan, right? As? No.
Bushes, creepers.
Yes. So something like herbs, aushadi, and bushes and creepers, so that he can get the dust of these great devotees. But here now he remembers, and he just, in the next verse, he will speak about Ishvara and Bhagavan and the Creator. So suddenly he changes it, and it seems like what's the relation? Rajasuya, gopis, and Krishna's teasing them, and his laughter and jokes and loving glances, and then but it seems like he's pouring his heart. He just remembers Krishna and just gives little. Then he'll speak about more from Vrindavana, about the cowherd boys, about Mother Yashoda, and different examples. And in the next chapter he will speak the pastimes after Krishna left Vrindavan. So we in the material world like to have things more structured and see what's the sequence, what he means here. But this part of Bhagavatam specifically is really about rasa. He's making the perspective. That's why maybe it's a juxtaposition of these verses. The next verse immediately brings us, okay, this is not ordinary dealings of boys and girls. He is the Supreme. He is the Supreme Controller of the spiritual and material worlds. He is Bhagavan. And this is always the Acharya's admonition that we should be careful when we approach this. Of course, we advise, that's why we hear it, even in the beginning of Bhagavatam. Who remembers where in Bhagavatam other devotees speak about the gopis, which is not in the 10th canto, of course. Bhishma. Yeah. What did he say in his last prayers to Krishna? He mentions the gopis, right? And their special type of love. And he is praying to them. He's remembering them, that he wants to get their blessings at his moment of death, to have love for his Lord. Who else speaks about the gopis? Narada Muni. Where? Bhagavatam. I'm talking about Bhagavatam before 10th canto. Who devotees directly speak about the gopis?
In the 7th canto,
Yes.
where he speaks about like how by the lusty desire.
Yes. So there's a verse which he says that the gopi, who knows it? The gopis, and then the Kamsa's dveshti, Kamsa's hatred and envy, and gopis kama. So he gives examples that you can approach the Lord in any way and you will be purified. And therefore the gopis has given example because it seems like their love resembles mundane lust. But the acharyas explain the difference, and Krishnadas Goswami has this wonderful verse in Chaitanya Charitamrita about the kama and prema. What is the difference?
Iron and gold.
Iron and gold. And what is the purpose of one, or what is the other? How he explains the difference. Yes? Yes, Prabhu.
Gratification of one's own senses.
Yeah, kama is you want. Satisfaction of yourself, of your own senses. And prema is gratifying Krishna's senses. So there is a gulf of difference. But when we are covered by the modes, we're in material consciousness, and we hear about this loving exchanges, we understand always through the perspective of our experience, right? We cannot go beyond that. This is what we have as experience, and then when we hear some descriptions, we have to relate it to something which is known to us. So when we hear about this, okay, so they laugh and joke. What is this? Is this God? And playing with girls, teasing girls, and kissing, embracing. What is this? So the mundane mind will either reject it and say, well, this is just another mundane description, but some foolish people somehow they decided that this is a special person and he is the supreme, and they reject it. Or you can accept it, but still, if you don't have the pure heart, you will not appreciate it as the pure devotees. So impersonalists and materialists, they reject it because they are envious of Krishna. And impersonalists, they just want to, they are not interested in anything personal. And even materialists, nowadays, they are so much into, any type of famous, personal development guru and coaches. They will teach you about manifestation, how to realize your desires. You have a goal, you can manifest it. No, you will not manifest it, the universe will manifest it for you. And it's an art. And you have to really desire it, and whatever, you have to follow certain steps. There must be a protocol for it. But then the universe responds and you get the car or the millions you desire. But it's not a person, it's the universe who responds and manifests. But if they hear such thing, no, they don't want God to be, part of their pastimes. Or if there is God, he should be somewhere far away, okay? That he's there just to pray. And then we are here. I still remember in Bhaktivedanta College when we had that Vaishnava theology degree. So we once a year we brought the students in Brussels to experience interfaith. So different churches or different denominations where people of faith express their way of serving or loving God. So I remember we were in a synagogue, and then the rabbi was explaining something about their religion, and one student said, "But where is God for you? What's the relationship? What relationship do you have with God?" I still remember his gestures. For us, God is there, far, far away, and we are here. We are concerned mainly with our existence here. So of course we pray, we acknowledge, we follow the law of God. But that's what it is. And if we pray, what do we pray for? We pray for our comfortable life. So this is a very mundane approach, and although it acknowledges some kind of personal God, this has no place. If you start talking about with a form, with qualities, with pastimes by himself and his enjoyment, and especially with conjugal enjoyment, oh, this is so immoral. With the wives of others, this is so immoral. And therefore the mundane moralists, they're criticizing, they reject this. And there was one famous dialogue with an English professor who had talked with Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati, and he was but he was submissive in a sense. He really genuinely respected Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati and wanted to learn from him. So he was very bewildered about this specific feature of Krishna, how he can do this such an immoral activity, seemingly. And this is a brilliant article, they somehow transcribed or made notes of this conversation, and the devotees. So Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati explained, no, you don't understand. The perspective is wrong. Once you understand that Krishna is the supreme husband of everyone, there are no other husbands. He is the supreme enjoyer. He enjoys everyone's wives. So your wife also, you cannot enjoy her. Whoever, even if you have a wife, they're supposed to be enjoyed by Krishna. I mean, he also asked his Grihastha disciples, don't approach your wives with the spirit of enjoyment. They are Krishna's wives. They are for Krishna's enjoyment. And it's very radical, but that's the fact. We are all energy, we're a feminine energy, and we are all. So he said Krishna is the supreme husband, and he can enjoy, and he enjoys everyone and everything. And all the souls are wives of Krishna, he said. So he can have not just a few hundred or few thousand. He was like 16,000. No, millions and billions. He said, but is this lust? And he said, no, it's not material lust what we have, but even if it lasts, it's unlimited lust. He's unlimitedly lusty, but not in that sense what we experience, a selfish, egoistic sense of exploitation. But Krishna's lust is a different type. Is pure prema, is pure love, and it cannot be understood in a mundane with a mundane mind, which is tinged by the material modes of natures. So therefore, it is very difficult for material mind, and even for devotees. Therefore, devotees who are not careful also to approach this with utmost reverence and with humility, they can go in the other extreme. And also think, oh, these are nice pastimes and Krishna is wonderful, but let me be in the center. And then they concoct their philosophy. They have to justify their enjoyment spirit, their karma. And they say, well, actually, to experience this parakya rasa, you have to feel You have to feel it. You have to experience it here in this world. So you have to find someone else's wife, a good wife, a good devotee, of course, and then have relationship. And this you will experience the rasa, and then you will appreciate, you remember Krishna. And it's such a rascaldom because you want to be in the place of Krishna. So that's the other extreme, the other prakrita is taken cheaply. Prakrita sahaja means the very natural expression of love, which true devotees have. But prakrita is you make it cheap. So that is rejected. Therefore, our acharyas were very careful and very reserved when they speak about these matters, because they know that unless devotees are advanced enough, they will get it wrong, and they can fall down very easily if they take it cheaply. And this is, we shouldn't think, well, we are safe, I'm practicing, I'm steady now, and I can indulge in hearing anything. No, we have to be always careful, and we have to go through the proper steps. Of course, go through the consequentially through the cantos, but also in terms of mood, follow the acharya's mood. Before going for siddhalalasa and longing for your perfectional stage of serving Krishna in one of the specific rasas in the process of Sharanagati, like Bhaktivinoda Thakur exemplifies with his songs, before longing for this, you go through dainya, utmost humility. You express that you are undeserving, you're full of anarthas as we are. And thus you're purified and you become qualified. And then you can, by Krishna's mercy, by Guru's mercy, by the devotees, you can feel natural, spontaneous attraction. And this should come naturally, because if it doesn't come, then also there is a problem. That somehow we don't apply ourselves. We do some mistakes or aparadas in the process, because this natural attraction should arise in the heart. And this is explained even in the second canto of Bhagavatam. What is the heart compared? If it doesn't change and transform when hearing the name, still frame, right? So we have to experience that after some time of serious practice. And Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati gave a particular period even. You know that? You heard? Yes. He had, after some years of serious and sincere practice, he said 15 years. After 15 years, devotees shouldn't just struggle with anarthas. It shouldn't be just anartha nivriti. There should be artha pravriti. There should be a natural attraction for the real object of love. So, therefore, these descriptions are there to also attract us and to purify us. And this is right there in the 10th canto. That's at the end of 33rd chapter, I believe. Shukadev Goswami answers to the doubt of Parikshit Maharaj about these pastimes of Krishna. Well, he came here to establish Dharma. Well, why he's doing that with these young girls at the dead of night? And then, at the end of his answer, actually, he says, these pastimes are specifically to attract us and to purify. So whoever hears in the right attitude will be purified. So this is in practical point of view. Why are these descriptions there for us? It's to hear, that we hear them from the right source with a proper attitude, and the heart will become pure, and gradually will become more and more attracted. And then we are, like Srila Prabhupada said, then once we are sincere and pure in heart, this will be natural, and still we'll be careful. Even we have spontaneous attraction, especially outwardly, because that's what Rupa Goswami says. This stage of Raganuga sadhana bhakti, when one feels a particular attraction and follows Jananuragi, the particular associate of Krishna in Vraja, still outwardly performs all the other Vaidhi external practices. not just because of show, because that's what devotees do. They hear, chant, and follow all the things which make Krishna happy. But they have this internal particular attraction. But still, they are careful, because even in the presence of the Lord, you can fall down. Like in the case of this devotee who accompanied Lord Chaitanya in South India, Krishna Das. Can you imagine? You travel with Lord Chaitanya. You're next to him. You're next to the Lord. And he's full of ecstasy, and he's transforming the hearts of everyone who he sees, even just glances. And you still fall down and become prey of a woman. And then Lord Chaitanya, when he wanted to go to Vrindavan, and he said, I'm leaving tomorrow. He told Swarup Damodar and Ramananda, right? Don't tell anyone, I don't want anyone to follow me. And he said, but I want to please you, whatever you tell me, I will follow. So they say, well, you're independent, you can do anything you like, but please, you said yourself, you'll be happy if you make us happy, and we will be happy if at least one devotee comes with you, because on the way you have to travel in the jungle, there will be no places where you can take lunch in Brahmana houses, somebody should be there. And Mahaprabhu said, okay, but I cannot pick up any of you, of my close devotees. It should be a new person, but steady in mind, peaceful in mind. And Prabhupada says in the purport, Mahaprabhu meant that he should be pure, not like the example of Kala Krishna Das, that he was not Dhira. And Prabhupada says one can fall down in the presence of the Lord and become attracted to Maya. Therefore, we have to stick always to the shelter. This is the way of Sharanagati. This is what Bhaktivinoda Thakur taught, that we always are down. There is no chance to fall down because we always down. Even if we have the highest aspiration, this we see in the prayers of the acharyas, like Rupa Goswami. This is a wonderful verse he has in Stavamala. He says, I have such a high desire. It's impossible to attain, but I still cannot help myself because I'm pushed by the strong way of my attraction. So I still desire, but he always, he in his prayers, Krita Gaskipi Yogipi Janismin Kumatavapi, he says, I'm always full of aparadas. I do all kinds of horrible things. Yogi, my intelligence is really crooked, but dasya dana pradana salavamupa padaya, but I still beg a particle of mercy given to you. He's praying to Srimati Radharani in the form of little service for little time. Dasya dana pradana salavam apyupapadaya. And then he says, because of your heart is always melted by the shining compassion you have, your nature is so compassionate, then you must be merciful. He says, Navanitas Yatsada, your heart is always melted and it's like a fresh butter because of the warmth of your compassion. So these are the prayers. Always devotee feels unqualified. So we should always feel unqualified and always pray at the feet of Guru and Srila Prabhupada. Always be safe. Then we'll be always safe. Even if we have particular attraction, then we pray to Srila Prabhupada because we need to be introduced. And this is the last thing I want to say. A small story. I was here a couple of years ago, and Parthasarathi Maharaj, who has a place just across the street, and he was sick, and now he's not here. But at that time he was quite sick, and he wasn't accepting any devotees to visit him. But I really wanted to see him. Unfortunately, there was a disciple who was serving him, and he said, we'll make some arrangement. He goes always for a walk in the morning, or actually in the afternoon, and then you just happen to be there, on the street, and you kind of come along, and then he'll notice you, and maybe there will be some conversation. And then I said, okay, I was waiting. It's fortunately between our break, between the readings, and so he texts me, he's there, we're coming. And then I suddenly came, and then I just walk along, and Hare Krishna, and then because he was in Bulgaria and he remembered, and then we started conversing, and then we continued walking, and I asked him some questions and he answered. But what I was telling the story was that at one point he said, well, let me introduce you to Giriraj. And then I felt so happy, so privileged that, such a great devotee. And then he said, let's go. So we went there inside the fence, and then really close. And he said, touch with your head. And then he said, Giriraj, this is Mahendra. And, he is from Oxford. He's just a gentleman, in this Victorian culture. You cannot just go to someone in society, in high society especially, and say, oh, I'm this and this, let's be friends, or let me. No, you cannot. It's such a big, breach of etiquette. Somebody has to introduce you. So, this introduction is, Narottam Das Thakur writes in his prayers to Radha and Krishna, and he says, when I attain my spiritual body, and then I am there in front of you, you'll ask, Radha and Krishna, you'll ask, who is this new Saki? And then my guru, Lokanath Goswami, in his spiritual form, Manjulali, she will say, oh, she's with me. She's very humble and meek, and she could assist her. And then you say, oh, okay. So this is still even there we're introduced. So, we are at the feet of Srila Prabhupada, and he knows all of them. Regardless of our rasa or his rasa, he knows all of them personally. So he can go and say, yes, he or she is with me. And then we are safe. And then always, if we pray to him that we approach this most high subjects with utmost sincerity and humility, we'll be safe and will not fall down. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna. Any comments, reflections, questions? Yes.
Thank you, Prabhu, for the wonderful class. I was wondering if you could speak about these different moods and aspirations, how the underlying principle of them is, it's a feeling of service. You see that in the writings of Raghunath Das Goswami, Rupa Goswami, that they're not approaching it in a mood of enjoyment, actually. They're approaching it in a mood that they want to be of service. So there's a very particular subtle disposition that takes place, which many people could potentially misunderstand in approaching such topics. But this principle of service, it seems to be a theme that you see without the Acharya's writings. I was wondering if you could speak on that.
Yeah, thank you very much for bringing it, because I had it in my notes. I couldn't even come there, but this was one of the most important things I wanted to say. And this is not just a small theme, it's just the fundament, it's the underlying, it's the basis of everything, actually. Unless we get this right, the fundamental mood that we're just a humble servant, we're nowhere. We'll definitely get it wrong. So this mood we have to cultivate from day one till eternity. That it just becomes deeper and deeper. And this is called seva vritti. This is the mood of seva, which Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati again and again. And that's why he was so heavy with those who take it cheaply, and then they approach this without actually having the substance, the seva vritti. So without having this mood of service, we have no place there. Well, as one great devotee said, I really was impressed by that. If we just appear in that frame of mentality and mind amongst the Vrajavasis, we'll break their hearts. So that's what we have to cultivate here, and this relates very much to our practical services here, because that's how we learn to develop this seva vritti mood. We just humbly hear from the authorities and our spiritual, authorities, Guru, Srila Prabhupada, and then we try to apply, and then say, yes, I do it, without reservation. And that's how we develop the seva vritti. And then when we become attracted, more specifically when the heart becomes pure, and that's not very high also, we shouldn't push it away. It's like one devotee was, something where some verse was mentioned, he said, oh, this Raganuga is absolutely far away, we're now at sadhana. And I said, when did you read Nectar of Devotion for the last time? And he was like, I don't know, 10, 15 years ago. Because Raganuga is part of sadhana. It's initial stage of bhakti, still, before even awakening the ecstatic love of Baba. But, so it's a practice. But when you have it right, when you have the seva-vritti, when this awakens, here Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur says, even at the stage of anartha nivritti, or when most anarthas are cleared, one will have glimpses of your particular attraction. And Prabhupada also says that in Adilila, in the purport, when one feels attraction to a particular form of Krishna or pastimes, that's an indication of one's constitutional position or attraction. But when that attraction appears, then you have the fundament of seva-vritti, and then you really want to assist there. And therefore, you cannot be either go in one extreme, either Mayavadi, when you want to be one of, replace them, replace one of the associates, which Prabhupada says this is Mayavad, or just replace Krishna. So it will not be in the enjoying spirit, it will be in a very serving spirit. Anything else? Yes.
Hare Krishna, Guru. Thank you for the class. Places like the beginning of Srimad Bhagavatam, obviously before Prabhupada compiled Krishna book, he's speaking about how one shouldn't jump to the subject matter of the 10th canto. And I was also just reading a purport recently how Prabhupada was saying that some people are urging him to immediately translate the 10th canto. This is obviously second canto, so this hadn't happened yet. Then also throughout Shastra, it's recommended, obviously, to hear the pastimes of Krishna. So how do we understand these contradictions in Prabhupada's instruction?
Yeah, no, there is no contradiction. It's just you don't selectively choose that.
Yeah.
That's what Prabhupada again and again says. Some people who are not qualified just want to jump, and obviously because they have material lust. It's not because of their pure motivation to get purified. And if they want to be purified, they won't make this distinction. They won't select it. They will hear anything. So therefore, when devotees started doing that during Prabhupada time, and then they selected this and said, we'll hear only this. From Chaitanya Charitamrita, this was when Prabhupada was, these were devotees who were working, especially on the team, and they formed their club. And then they said, well, we better don't hear Bhagavad Gita. And then even they made some comments about the love of Mother Yashoda. It's also inferior. When Prabhupada heard that, he was so extremely angry. And I heard, I think from Shrudakirti Prabhupada, I remember he was telling how he was there when Prabhupada heard that, and he was just so disturbed. And he was going to shave himself, and his hand was shaking. And he turned and said, what do they know about Mother Yashoda's love? So that's the point, you're selecting. But Prabhupada, as we know, he translated Krishna book, including all the pastimes of Krishna with the gopis, and he said, distributed far and wide. Yeah. So it's there, but Prabhupada gives it in such a safe environment and way, and always there is the rasa is within the tattva, and he always encouraged us to read. So always the criteria, if you somehow feel, oh, I want to read this, but not this, there's something wrong. But if you feel ecstatic when you read first chapter of Bhagavad Gita, as well as, 31st chapter of Bhagavatam, 10th canto, then okay. Still you have to be careful, but you will not make any distinction. And you feel the same ecstasy. In first chapter of Bhagavad Gita, first canto of Bhagavatam, anything connected with Krishna will stimulate your specific love. Even if you hear about other forms of Krishna, it will always direct you to your specific mood. Then even if you try to push it away, you still feel, because that's a natural thing. It's not imposition on the mind. It's not mental. It's not propelled by your karma. So, but unless this is there, this is the criteria, we have to be safe and go always through, the basics in the first canto and Bhagavad Gita, and always go, when we finish, go back at the beginning again and again, but also read Krishna book, because that's recommended. And it's safe when we hear from Prabhupada. Okay? I think we have to stop. Thank you so much for your attention. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Srila Bhagavatam ki jai.
His Grace Mahendra Prabhu ki jai.